You know when The Last of Us 2 came out, and I was saying it wasn't profitable for the company. They didn't sell as much as they wanted to. I had a lot of naysayers. They were like horses, high on Dr. Fauci's ivermectin, going, nay! It's very popular. And, okay. You know, like I couldn't prove it at the time. I just had this feeling. But the modern educated man seems to have been robbed of everything that's called intuition, feeling, unless you have the corporation itself coming down and writing it on a piece of paper, they don't believe it. And this is what we have now. We have the corporation coming down and writing it on a piece of paper that The Last of Us 2, as well as Horizon, weren't popular games, and they didn't even manage to break even. So you can fact check this. It's just easier for me to show it, but like you can go on Bing and you can ask it to show you the source. Sony and Microsoft reveal budgets of video games. The Last of Us 2 and Horizon cost $220 million each to develop, and another 2020 to market. So it means that they were supposed to sell 50 million units just to break even. I love the fact that they say Sony only gets $30 for each game sold. I think like back in the day, GameStop used to get like 10. So it is actually a huge cut that Sony is taking here. But the last record we have for The Last of Us 2 was in 2022. It only sold 10 million games, right? So it needed 15 million to break even. And it only manages to sell 10 millions. Horizon Forbidden West also not very popular, 8.4 million. And these are considered to be the best games on PlayStation. I remember Kotaku writing an article, best games on PlayStation all have LGBT representation. And I'm like, well, don't all the games have LGBT representation? So like no matter which ones become the best, they will have it. But they're insinuating that it's because of the representation that they're no, it's like every single game has it, so calm the fuck down. But what's interesting is that this is probably the reason why you don't get that many PlayStation exclusives anymore. Because if you guys remember, when PlayStation 3 was out, even when PlayStation 4 was out, one of the main reasons to buy a console was that you couldn't play many of those games unless you had a console. So if you wanted to play Resident Evil 4, well, you had to buy a PlayStation. And it was kind of annoying because it was a franchise that was first released, I mean, it was available on a computer. You could play Resident Evil 1. I remember playing 2 and 3 on a PC. And then if you wanted to play 4, or Codename Veronica, you had to buy a console. And there were many games like that. In fact, it was the main reason why people bought consoles, because of the exclusives. Nowadays, almost everything is on a PC, and I think like part of the reason as to why is that Sony wants to recover some of the losses that they're having with these games. I mean, obscene levels of cash spent on marketing, and after that, obscene level of cash spent on development, and the games don't sell. Now, the way I figured that the games don't sell is how the community reacted to them. Like I remember the damage control that they did, which goes to show that the companies are aware that word of mouth that is negative is affecting their sales. So if you guys remember, The Last of Us had the controversy with the leaked images of Joel getting killed. And those made the rounds on the internet. Fans were absolutely livid about it. And it's interesting because the developer themselves knew that the fans would hate it, but they put it in the game regardless. So what does that tell you about the game developer? Like, what does that tell you about the people making these games? Where they know that the customer despises it, like a restaurant knowing that people don't like burnt steak, but they will put it on your plate regardless. And when you complain, they will do everything in their power to shut you up. What type of business is that? Why would you even run a business like that? Is something that I don't understand. But they started copyright striking all of those videos from the internet. I remember it was so ridiculous that even their own official account got copyright struck by them because they didn't want the word to get out. And unfortunately, the word did get out, and probably a lot of people that would have bought the game decided not to. And then it's also the obsession with marketing. I gotta say, like if your cost for marketing is similar to the development of the game, you know, maybe you could spend that money to develop a better game. Like if it's a good game, word of mouth will carry it. But that's the thing, like they're not making games anymore as they used to. Because in the past, it was like, all right, well, we are some developers. We want to create a game that we would personally love to play. And it's our passion. And we want to create like the best strategy game ever. Or we want to create the best adventure game ever. Or the game with a deep and rich storyline. That's how it used to be. Now, it's like, okay, how can we create something to get money from people? Like, games are just made as a cash grab. They're not made as, all right, well, how can we push this genre any further? How can we make more breathtaking visuals than the previous games? How can we add innovative things to the gameplay? No, they're like, okay, well, what type of game makes a lot of money? MOBAs. All right, well, MOBAs are popular. Let's make a new MOBA spin-off. And with Horizon, it's the, I would say, the Far Cry formula or the Assassin's Creed formula where you're running around the map and you get some points of interest and you go there and you start the quest line. It's fucking boring and bland. And, you know, I remember that journalists actually encourage this type of business practice. There was a Kotaku article where they say, oh, well, games don't have to be RPGs or first-person shooters or third-person shooters anymore. Like, that's the old mentality. Games have to have everything. So every single game needs to have, like, a little bit of a stealth component. It has to get, like, a little bit of XP to power up your character and a tech tree. And a little bit of crafting and, you know... And I'm like, no, that's not how games should be. I mean, sure, you can make a game like that, which is, in my opinion, the Assassin's Creed formula. You know, like you get this tower, you climb up the tower, and then you reveal a little bit of the map, and you see the points of interest, and you can craft something, and then you level up, and you grind some XP, and the talent tree is completely not necessary because, like, eventually you unlock everything, so you don't really have any spec or stuff like that. Like, you can see how they're putting in game mechanics that aren't polished and are just there in order to, like, add a little bit extra of gameplay in the hopes that you get hooked a little bit more so you can purchase another microtransaction. Like, this is what they're trying to do. And it's not successful. It doesn't make great games, right? I mean, Resident Evil 2 Remake was Game of the Year. It didn't do any of that shit, right? Like, Resident Evil 2 Remake, it didn't have, like, a talent tree. It didn't have, like, a level up system. Do you know what did have a talent tree and a level up system? Gotham Arkham Knights. How'd you like that game? Utter shite, wasn't it? Yeah, Resident Evil 2 Remake doesn't have a dialogue tree. Did you notice that? Like, you don't get to, like, have, like, options within dialogue and shit. Because it's not needed. Not every game needs to have it. And, of course, it's the message. Yes, the message needs to be stuffed in every single fucking game. But it is what it is, right? So, it's no surprise. Now, imagine if Aloy was a big titty waifu. Just imagine, you know, if it appealed to the heteronormative evil. You know, you tap into those dark energies on the internet that are powered and fueled by the incels. The incels that have cash and money to give, but no company wants to take it. Now, if you tapped into that, would the game got, like, a couple more million sales? Absolutely. Absolutely. If I am willing to bet if The Last of Us or if Horizon, if they would have had a Bayonetta-like character that had, like, big cushy tits and like plump thighs and a nice tushy that would make the social justice activists scream in horror and despair, you would sell a lot more copies. But you can't do that. Why? Because the ideology doesn't let you. That is sinful. Like the Christians at BlackRock, they look and they get, like, the gaze of... And they give the gaze of disapproval. Like, that is not ESG friendly. Big titty anime waifus is hurting the environment. You poison the mind of the youth. You distract them from the important activism where they go and they glue themselves to a famous painting. And they throw oil over. That's what we want the youth to. That is ESG friendly. That is what the video game corporations stand for. Like showing a big anime goth waifu in a video game. You distract the people from the important stuff. That is ESG unfriendly. But yeah, no, like, unironically, no, think about it for a second. Right? I'm not saying that a game would sell on boobies alone, but what I am saying is that if Horizon Zero Dawn or The Last of Us, if they had that big titty goth waifu in the game, if they had the 2B, you know, like Nier has or anything like that, it would have sold a couple more million copies. Just flat out, even with the message. Even with the message. But they don't want to do it. So, you know, like, the money is there. They just have to reach out and take it, but they won't. Which is great, because I want these companies to fail. I want them to fail so that new companies can arrive that are actually in touch with the consumer. And they actually know what the customer wants. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.